Welcome to the Great Detectives of Old Time Radio from Boise, Idaho. This is your host, Adam Graham. If you have a comment, send it to me, box13@greatdetectives.net. Follow us on Twitter at Radio Detectives, and become one of our friends on Facebook, facebook.com/Radio Detectives. All right, well, before we do get started, I do want to let you know today's program is brought to you by the financial support of our listeners, and I especially want to thank Jennifer, Craig, Diane, Thomas, and Marie for their support. We'll send access to the premium site as well as any appropriate extras through our listener support campaign. Well, this is actually our last episode of the Casebook of Gregory Hood that features Gail Gordon. There are 5 more episodes with other actors, and we'll talk about that a little more next week. But this is the last of 10. The audio is not in as good condition as the first 9, but I think you'll find it interesting and certainly worth listening for a surprise character cameo. So here now is the Casebook of Gregory Hood and the case Double Diamond.
Casebook of Gregory Hood. Tonight's the Petrie family, the family that took time to bring you good wine, invite you to listen to the story of The Double Diamond. Another exciting adventure from the Casebook of Gregory Hood. Sunday night in San Francisco, and we have a date with Gregory Hood and his good friend and attorney, Sanderson Taylor. Tonight's rendezvous is down on the city's colorful waterfront. There, with the backdrop of the bobbing, brightly tinted sails of the fishing boats, lies that mecca of seafood, Fisherman's Wharf. Harry Martell. All right, evening, Mr. Taylor. Hello, Greg. Hello, Harry. Sit down and join us. We were just discussing the merits of baked red snapper as compared to the supper sounds of bouillabaisse. I'll be guided by you, Greg. I know this is one of your favorite hangouts. Well, I think you'd go for the snapper. They have a wonderful way of marinating the fish with lime juice, then icing it for several hours before cooking. Look, Greg, while we're waiting to order... Okay, Harry, I can see that Monday night look in your eyes. You want a story from the Casebook. Yes. Well, this particular adventure happened in February, lad. I had to go to New York to look over a collection of wonderful Gobelin tapestries that had just arrived from Europe. Sandy was afraid he might miss some fun, so he decided to come with me. Don't you believe it, Harry? I went along because I'm Greg's attorney, and I'm scared he's making a deal without me there to advise him. But go on, Greg. Well, whatever Sandy's motives were, we found ourselves sitting in the bar of the San Francisco airport, waiting for our plane to be called, and that's when the story really began. I remember as we sat there downing an extremely smooth sherry that I was in a singularly careless. No, Sandy, there are only 2 things I dislike about airplane travel. What are they? First, they allow you to smoke nothing but cigarettes. This is the last chance I'll have to enjoy this magnificent outsized hunk of briar until we land at Chicago. Well, the fact that shouldn't make the other passengers very happy. What's your second beef? That you're not allowed to date the stewardesses. They're always extremely delectable. I get so lonely up there in the crowd. You do all right. Now, I'll tell you the one thing I do like about plane traveling. What's that? It assures me, for a few hours at least, that you keep out of trouble. Well, dullness is restful in very small doses. But for a steady diet, I really... Hey, Sandy, look at this. Oh, what? It's a paper napkin crumpled in the bar. Look a little closer. Somebody's drawn something on it and looked at it. Great Scott, it's quite a good likeness of a cougar's head. Yes, Sandy, which happens to be the Hood and Company press. A very neat way of attracting my attention. And read on the other side. Okay. Watch the Colonel. What are you supposed to mean? I don't know. It looks like beauty in distress, but there isn't a girl in the bar. I don't see any signs of a Colonel either. There's nothing ever attacking the uniform here. Oh, wait a minute, Sandy. Get a load of that elderly gent with the drooping mustachio sitting in the corner. Oh, he certainly fits the bill for a Kentucky Colonel, wouldn't he? Almost a caricature. I do believe he's drooping in the deal. He is. Come on, Sandy, let's follow this through. Oh, and I said you'd be out of trouble for a few hours. Oh, I'm terrible, sir. I'm terribly sorry, sir. Come here, man. Come against your table. Let me order you another drink. Yeah, don't worry, sir. Here it is. Fine, sir. Bartender, bring another drink here, please. That's coming up, sir. Yeah, it was very kind of you. Not at all, not at all. By the way, my name's Gregory Hood, and this is Mr. Sanderson Taylor. I do. Very nice, sir. And Colonel Oliver from Virginia. Mighty glad to know you, sir. Mighty glad. Mr. Hood, sir, you always a gentleman, sir.
Continental Airlines, flight number 234, Chicago, New York. Now loading in case 6.
That's our plane. Excuse us, and it's my plane, too, sir. Should be there in a few minutes. Very well, Colonel. We'll see you on it. Come on, Sandy. Okay, sir. Yeah, goodbye, sir. Here you are, bartender. You can take the gentleman to take out of the seat, sir. Thank you, sir. Well, Sandy, this trip may not be as dull as you hope. The Colonel is a phony. His accent was unbelievable. Intelligent grammar. He means you all in the theater. It's no gentleman coming on. Well, now we've got to track down the writer of the message. Perhaps he'll be on the plane, too. Let's see how to fix it by matching up their lipstick with this particular shade used on the napkin. Well, Gregory, I hope it'll look well on this one. Smooth flight, isn't it? Yes, yes. Gregory, watching the Colonel for an hour, I've been watching more than the Colonel. Did you notice that girl sitting 3 feet behind him? She's a nice hire, all right, Father. I also noticed that she was wearing quite a beautiful diamond chain. Yes, it's a splendid specimen, too. The diamond, that is. And so is the girl. But the most interesting thing about it is the shade of lipstick. Elementary, my dear Taylor. A little hard to gauge the exact tint from here. I think a closer examination is indicated. I'll see a moment. Oh, sure, yes, yes. I'll see you. Hello?
Well, you said you made.
All right, I got your message. You can consider the Colonel watched. By the way, who is he? And for that matter, who are you?
How do you think he knows what you're talking about? Is your idea of a practical joke?
I don't indulge in them. Look up at me a minute, please.
Go away and don't bother me.
Come on, dear pal, look up at me.
I'll bring to the theater if you don't go away.
Look up, darling. Thank you.
You tricked me.
If you want to sue me, my attorney is sitting 3 feet ahead of me. Sleep well,
Well,
darling.
that's all the nerve.
That's the thing, then. Sometimes she It's a funny thing. The girl pretended not to know me. Yet I'll swear the lipstick was the exact shade, which might prove nothing, of course. Well, we'll soon see. I wipe off this delightful artificial rosebud I just stole to the same napkin. So, how do they compare? It's exactly the same shade, Sandy. Oh, that doesn't really prove she's among the rest of notes. I admit that it is an unusual shade of lipstick, but 100 different girls might easily be using. True. In fact, it doesn't really prove the note was written by a girl. A man could have taken a girl's lipstick and used it. Oh, yes, it's a fascinating probably. Yes, you're darn right it is. There's skullduggery going on in this thing, and I'll lay you dollars for a large pack of donuts, but little Miss Goldilocks Bacillus is mixed up in it. Yes, well, I'll let you take care of it. Okay, Sandy, one of us is enough. I'll stay awake, though I'm not quite certain what for.
Mr. Hood, please wake up, Mr. Hood.
Hello. Good. Don't tell me we're landing.
No, Mr. Hood. But there's been trouble on the plane.
Oh, really?
I knew you were an amateur detective, and I hope you'd help us.
I'll do my best. What's happening?
The girl sitting 2 feet behind you has been robbed as she slept.
The honey-colored girl with the diamond pendant?
Yes, only her pendant no longer contains the diamond.
Stolen, huh?
Yes. Her name is Miss Clay Shaw, and she's booked in New York.
I see. By the way, what's your name?
Jane Mar.
Tell me, Jane, there's a Colonel Colliver on the plane. What's his destination?
Chicago.
How far out of Chicago are we now?
Nearly an hour.
Oh, no, we have to let that. Let's go and talk to Miss Shaw. Lead the way, Jane.
She's waiting in the galley next to the rear of the cabin. Hello, Jane.
Hello, I I hear you're in trouble.
Yes, the diamond's been stolen from my pendant. And, Mr. Hood, I'm sorry I said rough with you earlier on.
Oh, it's all right, Terry. My approach must have seemed a little startling. May I look at the pendant?
No. You see, the diamond is tied out of its setting. The Greek, anyway, would only have taken a second.
When did you go to sleep, Miss Shaw?
About an hour ago.
And you're sure the pendant was intact then?
Yes, Mr. Hood. I went forward and tried to return a magazine. After I come back to my seat, I remember fingering the diamond as I dozed off.
Jane, do you remember how many people on this train passed Miss Shaw's feet in the last hour?
I only noticed two. The gray-haired lady sitting up in front, and Colonel Colfer, the man you were asking about.
Oh, well, I'll have a little talk with him. But before I do, I want to ask you to look at this note, Terry. As you see, the message on it is scribbled in lipstick of the exact shade that you're using.
Yes, the Tue Mar.
Did he write that, Terry?
No, I certainly didn't.
That's odd. Well, before we start studying any of the other passengers, I'll have to talk with Colonel Colfer. I know he's a phony. So back to your seat, Miss Shaw, and pretend to be asleep.
Very well, Mr. Hood, and thank you.
And Jane, you pretend to be preoccupied with your coffee jug. I don't want him to smell a rat.
Like your arm, Mr. Hood.
Colonel Colfer. Did you address me, sir? Yes. Oh, it's Mr. Gregory Hood, my friend from the airport. Sit down, sir. I can't, Colonel. I need your help. My help, sir? A man's fainted in the restroom. I can't get him out by myself. I wonder if you'd come back there and give me a hand. Why, of course, sir. Colonel Colfer, Virginia has never wanted to refuse a helping hand, sir. Thank you, Colonel. Here we are, Colonel. Colonel, I do hope that... there's no woman here, sir. Just the two of us. It's cozier that way, Colonel. Mr. Hood, so this is an outrage. You all is no gentleman, and you all is no southerner. You all is a jewel thief. If I were a younger man, sir, I'd say if it tell me where you hit in the eye. I'll repeat, sir. You're not going to play ball, you fugitive from Central Casting. I'm going to search you. As you pointed out, I'm younger than you all are, and I don't think you can do anything about it. Yes, I can, Hood. I'm going to gun on it. Yeah, you're not very handy with that gun, are you? Thanks, I'll take care of it. Why do you wear a shoulder holster when you can't draw that? What do you want, Hood? Goodbye, Virginia, Brooklyn, here I come. I want Miss Shaw's diamond. I don't know what you're talking about. Okay, reach up your hands. That's it, now turn around. Now start your striptease, brother, and don't bother to get coy about it. Come on. Off with your coat and toss it back to me. There, thanks. Well, somebody's going to teach you a lesson one of these days. I regard my schooling as adequate, thank you. All the best. Okay, Hood, you'll win this time. Diamond's in the vest pocket. So it is. By the way, Colonel, what's your real name? John Joe. What an unusual moniker. What are you going to do? I'll return this diamond to Miss Shaw the rest of the term. Now I'll leave you to make yourself a little more presentable. I'll keep your revolver. Don't try and run away, will you? We're about 2 miles above the earth, you know. David Hood, the sense of humor doesn't appeal to me. Why, Colonel Colfer, sir, you all is no gentleman. Yes, Jane, I got it.
Oh, wonderful. Perhaps you can persuade me not to prosecute our airline. Would certainly appreciate it if you didn't. The publicity would be grand.
I'll see what I can do.
Oh, I'm so grateful to you.
Oh, hello, Terry.
Mr. Hood, what's happened?
Call me Gregory, won't you? After all, I have a present for you.
Can you tell me that Gregory?
Yes, here you are. It was reposing in the best pocket of the so-called Colonel Colfer. You're sure it's the same stone?
Of course I am. Gregory, I'm so grateful to you.
Grateful enough not to prosecute the thief?
Oh, I won't prosecute him. I've got the diamond back, that's all that matters.
Good girl. I'll go and tell Jane that the fine name of Continental Airlines has been saved, and I'll let the Colonel know that he can stop trying to make a parachute out of his shirt.
Gregory, how can I repay you?
Well, Terry, I can think of an appropriate reward.
Oh? What is it?
Your lipstick still intrigues me, you know.
Does it? Then why not do something about it, Dad?
Thanks, Terry. I rather think I will. Wake up, Andy. Yeah, let's take off. We're coming into the airport at Chicago. Oh, are we doing? Yeah. Oh, Lord. Well, great. A nice private after all. Oh, yes, very quiet. All that's happened since you've been asleep is that the diamond's been stolen from a very beautiful girl. I've just recovered it for her. Her gratitude was boundless. A diamond was stolen? Oh, great. I'm perfectly serious. Well, tell me about it. Okay, and I'll start at the most interesting point. As you know, in my trade, I've had to develop a good eye for gems. And I'll swear by my old father's finest brandy that the diamond which I recovered is not the same stone as the one that was stolen. No? Sandy, this case has only just started. You'll hear the rest of Gregory Hood's story in just a second. And right now is a swell time for me to tell everyone who enjoys good food how to make chicken taste even better. And that is, serve it with Petri California Sauterne. Ah, yes, a glass of Petri Sauterne and chicken fried till it's crispy and brown, or roasted with a savory stuffing. What a combination. Petri Sauterne, you know, is an unusual white wine, beautifully golden in color. And what a flavor that Petri Sauterne has. Subtle, intriguing, really delicious. Believe me, you don't know how good chicken can be, or for that matter, how good fish and seafood can be, until you serve them with Petri Sauterne. And just make sure it is Petri Sauterne, because all Petri wines are good wines. Well, Greg, you had me fooled there. I thought your story was nearly over. So there were two diamonds involved. Yes, Harry, and one of them was still at large, the one that I'd seen originally in Miss Shaw's pendant. But why did she claim the wrong diamond as hers? That's what I had to find out, Harry, and that's why, as we filed out of the plane for a half-an-hour stop at Chicago, I tapped the supposed Colonel Pollitt on the shoulder. Leave me alone, Hood. See what prosecute. You got nothing on me? My friend here is an attorney. What do you say, Sandy? Well, maybe we could get him on carrying a concealed weapon, eh? You guys lay off. Then tell me one thing, my fine, furious Virginia ham. You know darn well that the diamond I lifted off you was not stolen from that girl. I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, yes, you do. But once I found it, you didn't protest. Obviously, its true origin won't bear going into it. But why did the girl... I said, leave me alone. I don't know anything. Well, that's the last we see of the Colonel. He was from Chicago's his destination. But the girl is going on to New York. Somewhere between here and there, I'm going to get to the bottom of it. Oh, Greg, leave well enough alone. You were probably wrong and was the same down. Sandy, all my bloodhound instincts were to work. In the meanwhile, though, I take advantage of being on terra firma again like this pipe. Hey, what's going on over there? Huh? Looks like a fight. Come on, Sandy. Why, Terry Shaw, somebody's slugged her. Judith is bending over. Jane, what happened?
That Colonel Colliver, he struck Miss Shaw, snatched her bag, and got away.
And that bag had the diamond in it. Let's see if we can catch him, Sandy.
Not a chance. There he goes, Grace. Up the fence and into a waiting car.
All part of a prearranged plan, darn it. Let's get to her phone and call the police. She can be all right, Jane.
Yes, she's just saying.
Oh, well, look at her. We'll get to the nearest phone.
Very well, Mr. Britt.
We've got to try and head him off, Sandy.
Sure, but how? We haven't got the license number of the car. We don't even know what he looks like under those false whiskers.
I know, but he must be a known criminal in Chicago. I wonder if... Sandy, we watched him at the airport bar in San Francisco. Which hand was he using to hold his glass?
Which hand? The right.
Exactly. And yet his revolver was in the shoulder holster under the right armpit or the left hand.
And the dexterous, huh? Then you better let me get on that phone.
Why?
You know your method, Greg. Find out what you need to know and ask the right guy. Okay. There's a lawyer friend of mine who knows every crook in Chicago. At this hour, I should find him at Joe the Angel City Hall Bar. Give me nickel, Greg.
What?
This is good company business.
City Hall, boy. The Angel's speaking.
Is John J. Malone there?
Oh, sure. It's for you, Mr. Malone. Okay, slide it on over, Angel. Malone speaking.
This is Henderson Taylor.
Sandy, how are you? Joe, John.
I'm on my way through to New York. Hey, listen, Malone, I need some help.
And I need a fee. Bear that in mind, Sandy. What's your problem?
Well, Greg and I are on the trail of a jewel. All I can tell you is that these ambidextrous things are rotten action.
And where does the acting come in?
Posing as a Southern colonel. The most unconvincing of all.
Oh, I know the man. That's an old trick of his. His name is Keefer, better known as Ice Keefer. I've defended him 5 times and got him off 4. What's he been up to?
Well, he made a snatch and grab out at the airport a few minutes ago. Hey, does he have a hideout near here?
Yes, back of a warehouse on the city road. Just a shack kitty cornered across from a bar called the Purple Cow.
Purple Cow. Oh, fine. Much obliged, Malone. I'll see you on the way back.
Fine. I hope you catch him, Sandy.
So do we.
Yeah, but my motives are different. If you catch him, he'll be sure to hire me. And that blonde hat-set girl at the casino has such expensive taste. So long, Sandy. Well, there's the Purple Cow.
And here's the warehouse. Balloon said his hideout was at the back of it.
Come on, then.
You still have his revolver?
Yes, I'll keep it handy. I'm afraid he'll feel a little frustrated when he sees us again.
This is keep the shack in.
Yes. And no lights on. Maybe he's not coming here after all.
They might have driven around to shake off anyone tailing him. And we've gotten him first.
Could be. But don't take any chances. Come on. Front door is locked.
The window is open.
No. We can lift the lower sash. Here we are. Now, mind me, I think it easy. Don't make too much noise.
I'll strike a match.
Keep it below window level. We don't want to advertise our presence. Well, I guess this is what passes for the living room. Let's sit down and wait for me.
Here's the car now, Ray. I'll just turn into the office.
Yes, come on. We've timed this perfectly, Sandy.
Got your gun handy?
It's pointing straight at the front door. Of course, Mortgage. I ring your eyes and this Hood guy's feeling pretty darn stupid right now. He doesn't feel so bad, Colonel Ice Feaster. Up with your hands, you all. We're going to prefer charges this time, Feaster. A little matter of assault at the airport.
How did you set me here?
I have an overdeveloped bump of location. And now, boys, you can tell us the way to the nearest police station. And I'm sure you won't need a street guide to do it.
Continental Airlines, Flight 234 for New York, loading in 10 minutes at Gate 4.
Well, how convenient that the plane was delayed half an hour. They might have gone off without us. As it is, we've time for a drink. What is it?
Well, I'll have a glass of sherry.
2 dry cherries, please. Yes.
Hey, Greg, you still think there was another dime?
I know there was, Sandy.
Where the heck is it?
This on you. Well, hello, look who's coming in.
Oh, well, it's Charles.
Oh, Gregory, you really are wonderful. I should have told me about my purse back.
Yes, Cherry, and the diamond. Do you care for a drink or is not loading for 10 minutes?
What are you having?
Cherry.
I'll have it then.
Make that 3 cherries, please. Coming up. I see you, Charles. That blow didn't do any visible damage.
I think I just saved the flight. Well, let's say my chin's awfully sore.
Oh, I'm glad you're all right, Cherry. Oh, Sandy, do you have some tobacco? In the midst of all this excitement, I've forgotten to have that pipe I promised myself. I've time for at least a third of a pipe full before we get on the plane.
Before you light that monstrosity, I've got a reward to give you for getting my bag back. Can you wait a moment, Mr. Taylor, please?
Aren't you afraid of shocking the barkeep, Cherry?
Your back's turned.
Turn around, Sandy. This is interesting, Miss Shaw. Your looks might make a man forget almost anything. I think it's a little odd that the girl I'm kissing should reach for the pipe in my breast pocket.
What are you talking about, Greg?
You soon see. I'll smoke that pipe now, at last.
But Gregory...
Yes?
Well,
No, don't worry, darling. The heat won't damage your diamond.
Greg, what do you mean?
Look, it's the result of my fondness for outside pipe bowls. See what's been hiding in here, Sandy?
It's the original diamond.
Sure it is. This cunning young lady went to the front of the cabin to return a magazine, she said. Actually, she took the diamond out of its setting, hid it in the bowl of my pipe while I was sleeping, and then reported it stolen.
you must admit it was clever, Greg.
Oh, it was brilliant. Too bad your cleverness has led you on the wrong side of the law.
Yes, but Greg, why?
Think what she accomplished. The searching of the colonel and the acquisition of his diamond.
And she did write that message in lipstick.
Sure, she put the finger on the colonel, knowing that he'd thereby become the first suspect. The prettiest hijacking trick I've ever seen.
I was rather proud of it.
You knew that Tisha was carrying the loot from San Francisco to Chicago, and you devised this plot whereby I, in person, could lift the loot from him and return it to you.
The original diamond, the one that she took out of her pendant and hid in your pipe while you were asleep.
She knew that she'd intrigued me sufficiently to find an opportunity to get it back before I discovered it.
Darn it, Greg, you've ruined a beautiful plan.
Young women, in all my experience in law, I've never seen such complete self-possession, or you're an admitted thief. Have you no conscience?
Absolutely none. What are you going to do, Greg?
The original diamond is presumably yours. You may keep it here. The other diamond, the one I listed complete stash, will return to the San Francisco police. Doubtless they'll know where it came from.
And what are you going to do? What me?
Sandy, you're my attorney. I imagine we can prosecute, can't we? Oh, yes, we can. But I know what happened. She simply says she made a mistake in identifying the jewel, smiled at the jury, crossed her legs a couple of times, and walked out.
Here's your drink, folks.
Oh, yes, thank you. Well, you asked me what I'm going to do with you, Terry. I'm neither a representative of the law or a moralist. But if you do get away with this, I warn you I shall be on your trail.
Oh, sounds crazy.
Crime really doesn't pay, darling. I'll make it my mission to prove that fact to you.
Conscientious, aren't you?
In the meanwhile, I'm going to drink a toast to you. I pledge the good fortune which has presented me with such an ingenious and attractive criminal antagonist. It's been fun crossing swords with you.
Thank you, sir. It's about to bring to a return engagement, Gregory.
And I shall drink to the amazing good fortune that has enabled Gregory Hood and Company to be successful when it's headed by sentimental idiot. Amen to that, Sandy. That was a swell story, Greg, but, say, do you really think you'll see her again? Absolutely. There was one little thing I did to make sure of it. You wouldn't by some chance think that bit of romancing you handed out as a surefire way to bring her back. Harry, that's the obvious way. Okay, you were more subtle. What? It's only my deep friendship that leads me to setting things up for you like this, Harry. Remember that drink I bought her? Mm-hmm. Well, it wasn't ice water, old man. Smart stuff, Gregory. And if she's as smart as she seems, she knows that the Petri wine you undoubtedly bought her is good wine. Why, it's got to be. Look at the long years of skill and experience that go into its making. The Petri family has been making wine for generations. Winemaking is their heritage. A heritage handed down from father to son, from father to son. So you can see why the Petri business has grown and grown, so that today the Petri family are America's largest independent winemakers. Yes, the making of Petri wine is a family affair, and the Petri family has every intention of keeping it just that. So you know the name Petri on a bottle of wine is more than a trademark. It's the personal assurance of the Petri family that Petri wine is and always will be good wine. Well, Greg, what page of the casebook are you turning to for next week's story? A page that has the heading, The Adventure of the Venerable Fudge. It concerns a certain hilarious convention that took place in San Francisco and a strange series of happenings that lead a crooked trail to murder. See you next Monday, Greg. And the Monday after that, no doubt. Harry, what do you suppose you'll be doing 10 years from now? What? Oh, don't mind me. I was just musing about all the people who will have their dreams realized 10 years from now. You know, a college education for their children, or a new home, or maybe a trip abroad, a rich uncle. Exactly, Harry. A rich Uncle Sam who's going to pay them $4 for every $3 they put into savings bonds today. Really, I can't think of a better way to invest your money than in United States savings bonds. Good night. Casebook of Gregory Hood is written by Dennis Green and Anthony Boucher. Original music composed and played by Dean Fossler. Gail Gordon plays the part of Gregory Hood, and Sanderson Taylor is played by Howard McNear.
Welcome back. When John J. Malone, who listeners of this program for, I think, more than 3 months, will recognize as the star of a previous show that we just had on earlier this season. When that character came in, I was like, what? But it's not all that far-fetched, given that Anthony Boucher was a very noted mystery critic, so he probably would have had no problem getting Craig Rice to sign off on John J. Malone getting a guest appearance. Of course, it wasn't by any of the radio actors to play Malone on a regular basis, because the John J. Malone radio series started over another network. and about 5 months later. And for those who are a little bit newer to the series, John J. Malone was the subject of nearly 200 American radio shows and another 50 Australian radio shows, plus several movies and a series, and was at its base a series of books written by Craig Rice. The other thing that was interesting was Gregory Hood, that he could only smoke cigarettes on the plane, which I guess contrasts with today, where you can't smoke at all. I don't know if I could travel on a plane with smoking myself, so I'm not nostalgic for those particular days, but just kind of an interesting contrast. Excuse me. All right, and that brings me to listener comments and feedback. And we start off with Diane, who writes in. First of all, she sent me a check for the listener support and a handwritten note. Thanks, Adam, for all of the great old-time radio shows. My iPod is happy with all of your selections. And then she replied back, she says, I've enjoyed your program for quite a while. Bought the iTunes app as soon as you made it available. Thanks for all of your time that you put into the shows. I do notice one thing in listening to podcasts, and that is that people listen to shows through 2013 eyes. And that certainly isn't how the world was. I'm a child of the 50s and the 60s. We didn't notice the cigarette commercials, as that was normal in that day. They were on TV as well. Well, that's a good point, Diana. I do definitely appreciate the point of view. And I think anytime we listen to these programs, we have to, kind of as much as we can, maintain that perspective. When we do tune in to these programs, we're guests in another time. Now, obviously, though, I think there are some things that, even with that, are kind of hard for us to appreciate, being, looking at it through 2013 eyes. But if we have too much of that, it really makes it hard to enjoy some of the more interesting works that were produced. And I'm talking about in any medium. I knew I was on a forum on Goodreads, and a person could not relate or even enjoy the Nero Wolfe stories because she just could not relate to the thinking of the times or be able to deal with that. It would just, bother her too much. And that, I think, is definitely unfortunate. But I appreciate your remarks. Jennifer says, please keep doing your wonderful shows. Listening is one of my favorite parts of my day. Thank you for all your hard work and effort you put into what you do. And Craig says, I love your Great Detectives podcast. I listen to it every night for the last 3 years. Keep up the great work. Thanks so much, Craig, and do appreciate your kind comments. And that will do it for today. We will be back tomorrow with Here Comes McBride, and then join us on Tuesday when we'll have a new Gregory Hood. In the meantime, send your comments to box13@greatdetectives.net. Follow us on Twitter, Radio Detectives, and become one of our friends on Facebook, facebook.com/Radio Detectives. From Boise, Idaho, this is your host, Adam Graham, signing off.